So what you're looking at right here is just me messing around a bit in AC Mirage open world. No story spoilers or anything, but yeah, I did finish Assassin's Creed Mirage fully. It took me about 25 hours, but that was with quite a lot of side content as well. So if you like rush it, you can probably complete it in way less time than that, but max 30 hours of full completion is what most people should expect from it. So we're going to talk about the positives, the negatives, and at the end of it, form an opinion, give it a review, and see if it is worth it or not. But I will say this, I definitely had fun in AC Mirage. It kind of goes back to its roots, but not really. There are some things that kind of go back to the original AC games 1, 2, and 3, but there are quite a few that still linger in the present, like many systems like the skill tree and a few other RPG components are there, and it definitely reminds you that this is modern era Ubisoft we're talking about. However, I really enjoy the fact that it feels like a breath of fresh air. Finally, an AC game that is not completely convoluted with a ton of things to do, which I think is only going to make the next AC game, which is supposed to be fully on RPG, even more exciting to play. AC Valhalla after Odyssey really did not do it for me. So maybe having 1 year full RPG, 1 year more action oriented, or every couple of years feels refreshing enough that you still want to play the franchise, but gives you enough reasons to be excited for the next big RPG title. Maybe this could work best for Ubisoft in the future, but I would also love to know your opinion down below. Now, one thing I found very interesting about this is that it doesn't get as close to the old AC formula of 1, 2, and 3 as much as it does to Origins. I found way more similarities to Origins than I did to Assassin's Creed 1, for example, even though there are ways to kinda emulate the look and the feel of that era. From the modern style parkour system to the scaled back skill tree, ways to infiltrate enemy camps, and even like the setting reminds me a lot more of Origin than any of the old AC games. So all in all, I think that that is still a positive because Origins was one of my favorite in the series. It was at a time when the franchise was kind of reinventing itself, kind of going in a little bit into RPG territory, but it was just enough so it doesn't feel convoluted, but still gives you enough action to have fun. One thing, however, that does remind me heavily of the old AC games is definitely the social stealth feature. It is making a full comeback and the game doesn't shy away from using it. There are many occasions actually in which it encourages you to use it. So you can hire a group of merchants, for example, to go past blockades or very restricted areas by just blending in with people that are allowed to be there. You can also spy on your target, eavesdrop on conversations, or just plan your next attack, sit there silently and stealthily before the moment to act comes, which in every single scenario I absolutely loved, and it was always one of my favorite features in especially AC2. I believe it was one when you could hire, well, certain types of women off the street that you could use then to distract guards and whatnot. That's also back, by the way, but in the form of musicians. You can use that to attract guards, distract them into other directions, and then move in without any restriction. I think that it's very well executed. Combat is also snappy as always, maybe even more so because Basim is quick, he's agile, he uses dagger and a sword, so you kind of have to be on point with the parries, and this is going to be important to nail down early on, but once you do, it becomes very rewarding. If you do proper parries at the right moment, it heavily rewards you as you can mostly finish with quick assassinations right after. However, if you don't, you still have the dodge, you still have the old way of taking them down, and of course you most of the time don't want to be in the open anyway, in the shadows, and doing stealth assassinations is much better. Of course, you also have all the other tools and all the other gear pieces that give you various bonuses to being more stealthy and all of that. So again, some RPG features are still in there that will help you with that. But personally for me, the open world was by far my most favorite feature. It is big enough to feel big, but not too big so it doesn't feel overwhelming. Again, I would say it's on the scale of AC Origins, but obviously I did not measure it. It just feels that way when you play it. There's plenty enough stuff happening seemingly at every spot, but there is plenty enough room between them so that you can maybe take a ride on the camel in the desert or go enough out in the open until you eventually stumble upon an oasis, and it's a really cool sight when you see it. There are many moments like these, and honestly the vibrancy of the desert, lush look for some reason just does it for me. I really like places with palm trees, I guess, so it's always going to get a big plus from me. It also helps that the game graphics look impeccable, at least on the performance mode I was playing. Like, most of this is on the performance mode because I just prefer more FPS, but even on that setting, it retained its beautiful, lush and vibrant aspect. I really love that about these AC games. They always manage to look great. Maybe not always under every single circumstance. There are certain occasions and certain NPCs that might not be of great importance. When you look at the facial animations and like the face graphics, yeah, they don't look like that up to par if you compare it to maybe like Cyberpunk, but it's still good enough that is in the top right there with other great looking games. Plus, there are many great things to discover in typical Ubisoft fashion. You have gear chests, you have unlockables, secret books, and all that kind of stuff that once you finish all of them and find them all, you get plentiful rewards. You get a ton of gear sets, a lot of outfits and armors, weapons, and even schematics for them to upgrade, plus some other goodies in there too. It's definitely a Ubisoft game. It definitely feels like that formula over and over again, but in a good kind of way. Now, it also comes with negatives. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about them too. One of them is that, well, the old AC level design kinda remains unchanged. If you played any previous AC games, this plays exactly the same, so it's not going to feel that much different, if at all. I literally did not play an AC games in like 4 years, ever since Odyssey, and I did not feel a difference. I just jumped back in and it felt like an AC game. Maybe the control scheme is different, but even that took no time to master, so it's, yeah, super easy to just get back into it. Which I guess it's okay, but if you kinda hate the same old formula and want to see something different, you're not going to find anything new here, at least from what I was able to tell. Also, the Ubisoft typical animation jank is always going to be present. It's just something about the company or the way they animate things that you always see in their games, like the way Basim goes over obstacles, or the way his legs bend at certain times when you do certain jumps or certain animations or interact with different environmental pieces. There are some janky animations here and there that you will often spot, which are not that obstructing, so they won't stay in the way of your enjoyment. And if you played previous AC games, you're kind of used to this anyway. Now, one thing that really pissed me off, as always with new AC games, is the overarching present-day story, or what's left of it, because it feels that every year or every new installment, we have less and less of it. And again, without spoiling absolutely anything, I'm not gonna say how long or short it is or whatever. Basim's story is okay, you can just play it. There are some moments in there that are pretty okay, and there are some build-ups toward great things in future games. But I just wish there was a way Ubisoft brought back that intrigue and narrative excellence they had back in the first AC games. I don't know how many of you remember, but many definitely do. Those flashbacks, those in-game cinematics that you would unlock if you played the game extensively and did everything. You would eventually get those pieces of memory that showed a very long ago past in which humanity was enslaved by these gods. And you had that really cool trailer with those two people running away and trying to get away, I think, from Minerva, and they were holding the apple of knowledge. It was absolutely incredible. One of the best pieces of media, that literally the only one that got me excited to see what happens next in the next installment. It was the only time I was actively waiting for the next installment in a video game. Unfortunately, that died a long time ago, and I don't think we're ever going back to that. That is why I'm always going to criticize Ubisoft for this particular reason. But excluding that and the ramblings of an old Ubisoft fan, yeah, AC Mirage is definitely worth it. I think it's definitely worth a play if you want to like go back to the roots, but also have a bit of the present day formula. It's definitely a fun Assassin's Creed to play, and you will definitely get your money's worth out of it, especially if you go with like the basic edition. But there are some goodies in there too with the more advanced editions like Deluxe and whatnot. But this is it with the review. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.